Several years ago, I attended a session about the flipped classroom concept. At the time, I was struggling with how to help a student who was facing a difficult battle with leukemia. He was missing a lot of school, and I needed to find a way to get the content to him. This seemed like the perfect solution. So I wrote a grant for some equipment and software and started to make my own videos. I dabbled for a few years, making videos here and there to supplement my traditional classroom instruction. Eventually, I made the decision to jump, to go all in. Before we get too far down the road, we should have a common understanding of what a flipped classroom is. In a flipped classroom, information is primarily delivered to the students through videos watched at home. The time in class is spent working on activities designed to demonstrate understanding and higher order thinking, while the teacher is available to assist. Basically, instead of doing homework at home when we're not there, they're going to do the homework in class when we can help them and get that content at home through the video. In this video, I'll explain what a flipped classroom looks like in my world. The first decision I had to make was what type of video would I use. You have some choices. I chose to make my own using the Camtasia software. I really enjoy that software. It gives me enough flexibility to do the things I want to do without being overly complicated. There are some other great software packages out there, Screencast-O-Matic, Office Mix. Camtasia is a bit expensive, but with the help of that grant, I was able to afford it. But you don't have to make your own videos. You can use ones that are already available. There's lots of really great choices on sites such as YouTube and Khan Academy. Since the videos are going to be your primary method of delivering information, it's very important to keep them to a length that your students will be able to handle. My rule of thumb is no longer than 1 minute per grade level. I teach 8th grade, so I aim to keep my videos no longer than 8 minutes. For every video my students watch, there's a corresponding guided note sheet, much like you might be filling out right now. The guided note sheet is basic and easy enough for even a struggling student to compete. I'm a bit old school, I think, and I still believe that writing stuff down helps to get that information locked into your brain. A key component to my flipped classroom is the oral defense. Students do not get credit for just completing the guided notes. They must be able to answer 2 to 3 questions about the content. I usually keep a couple different sets of questions available to make sure that the student sitting next to them doesn't automatically get it right. One of the most difficult lessons has been to learn to tell them, nope, you don't have it yet, go back, study, that's not good enough. As a teacher, I want to help them, I want to guide them, I want to give them hints, but there's just not time with that many students in a class. But to my surprise, after making the change and telling students they had to go back and work some more, I had other students listening in to the questions and studying. I'd find them quizzing each other, making sure that they knew it before I got around. Within a day or two, retention improved, and I didn't have that problem anymore. Students were coming up prepared, ready for their oral defense. Now, while I'm doing that oral defense, I'm moving from student to student, and the rest of the students are working on an activity. I've started to become a collector of formative assessments, different things that I could give to students that would have them demonstrate higher levels of understanding. After the first unit, it became clear to me that I was going to need a better method of keeping all those assignments and activities organized. After several iterations, I tried a number of different things. Some worked, some not so well. I eventually settled on a checklist. The students liked that they were able to put the due dates in and check them off when they're done. I can't lie and say that it was perfect every time. Sometimes there were changes and we had to cross things out and add things in. And sometimes I didn't even have one for a unit when I was behind. But when I did, things went much smoother. One of my goals for next year is definitely to improve upon my checklist. Every year, I'm going to have to work on making something just a little bit better and refining this process. A surprise benefit has been the ability to contact parents more often with positive emails. As I'm going from student to student, looking at their guided notes and their activity, I make it a habit of trying to look for a difficult or struggling student who's doing some good work. This example on the left here was from just about a week ago. A student who had not been really doing great this year was really understanding the concepts of force and motion. I took a picture on my iPhone, have my email right there, and was able to email her parents within 30 seconds. The smile on her face and the effort that I've gotten from her since made it all worthwhile. It's just immeasurable. One of the most successful components in my flipped classroom has been my makeup test policy. The initial test is a multiple choice test as we're getting them ready for the STAR test. Before every test, students are given a test review. This test review must be completed in order to be eligible for the makeup test. The makeup tests are short answer and the fill in the blank. They're harder than the original tests. They'd have to be, otherwise students would just wait for the makeup test. After the students take the multiple choice test, I hand them out the makeup test. They can take it home, they can study it, they can look at it, they can work at it with friends. I'm not going to change that makeup test. The one that they got handed out is the actual makeup test. When they're ready, they come in during a tutorial and take the makeup test. No matter what score they had on it originally, a 98 or a 28, they can bring their grade up to a 100. The makeup tests are written such that in order to do well on them, you simply have to understand the material. It was a tough change philosophically at first, but this way we don't stop until they learn the material. And at the end of the day, if they learn the material, whenever they learn the material, I win and so do they. Their scores have dramatically improved. It hasn't been easy. Much of this year has felt like I jumped out of an airplane with a parachute on and the instruction manual for how to use a parachute, and I was trying to figure it out before I hit the ground. But I have to say, it's been one of the most rewarding years in the classroom that I've had in 15 years. I find that I'm engaged with students more than I ever have been, and I'm looking forward to coming to work and seeing what the next day is going to bring.